Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you guys are doing great. Today we'll be discussing the box office numbers for this past weekend. I wanted to do this for yesterday, but the Blue Beetle spoiler review, which I already have up, if you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's kind of a long one, but I think it's better to have a more in-depth look of the movie than just your basics, whether or not I liked it. And if you watch the movie, I think it'll probably be a conversation starter. But I wasn't able to do it yesterday, so I'm going to try for next week to do it on Tuesdays because I think it's a lot better and more accurate when it comes to the numbers. But nevertheless, here we are. Before we dive into the video, please, if you haven't yet, subscribe. Also, like and share the video because it helps out the algorithm just to reach out more people and get them part of the conversation. I would really appreciate it. And let's just get into the numbers. So, the top 10 movies for this week. Definitely number one, Blue Beetle. And I had mentioned in my previous video for the box office breakdown that I had a feeling that it would overthrow Barbie and dethrone Barbie for the number one spot, and it did, but it wasn't by that big of a margin. So Blue Beetle opened with a $25 million debut for its domestic box office. That is not great, and I'll dive into the reasons as to why that's not great later on, but very, very much not great at all. And then when you consider Barbie coming in at number two with $21 million, that's even more of an indication that the opening wasn't as great as it should have been, especially considering that it's a superhero movie and considering that the budget of the movie is it's not high, but it's right there in the middle. So, yikes. Oppenheimer coming in at number three with $10 million. Then you have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem with $8 million. You have Strays, which is Universal's new movie that came out about dogs, which looks terrible to me from the trailers. Coming in at $8 million. Again, not a good start for that movie either. Meg 2 coming in with $6 million. Talk to Me, which I made a review on, and I just entice you guys to go watch it. And if you haven't watched the movie, just give it a try. I think it's a really good movie. Coming in with $3 million, Haunted Mansion from Disney continues to spiral out of control and flop with only $3 million added into their domestic run. It's safe to say that the movie is not going to hit the $100 million mark domestically and is essentially another flop for Disney. Mission Impossible coming in with $2 million. It sits at $164 million domestically. Again, another movie that probably Tom Cruise is looking at and saying, like, what the hell? Especially coming out from a high like Top Gun Maverick. This is shameful. I wonder what's going to happen with the second part of this movie in particular, because I wouldn't even have hope for it. Maybe it was the marketing, maybe it was the timing of the movie, but yikes. And coming in at number 10 to round out the 10 movies would be Sound of Freedom with $2.6 million. Again, this movie is the surprise hit of the summer. It is at $177 million domestically. It's higher than Indiana Jones. It's higher than Elemental. It's higher than Sound of Freedom. Heck, it's even higher than freaking The Flash. Like, the movie has done so well for itself that I'm pretty sure that a lot of the other companies and studios that have had flops for the whole summer are looking at it and saying, like, what the hell? Like, you chipped into the audience that would have probably gone in to watch my movie, which I don't think that's the case. We can use Barbie and Oppenheimer as a means to justify that people will actually watch your movies as long as they're marketed good and that they're actually good films. Like, another movie coming in, even if it's a good film, is not going to take away from the audience that will probably potentially watch your movie. So, again, Sound of Freedom, Angel Studios, major win. It's profiting like no other. So, but it is what it is. Now to dive deeper into the numbers themselves. Like I mentioned earlier, and I mentioned last week, I was pretty sure that Blue Beetle was going to dethrone Barbie for the number one spot. The reality is that it wasn't that big of a margin. It's only literally like $4 million in difference. And considering the amount of money that Barbie has done, it really doesn't affect them whatsoever. It's a sad thing to see that the movie is flopping so hard. Now, when it comes to the overall box office worldwide, it only came up with $45 million worldwide. That is bad. That is bad, especially when you consider that the alleged budget for this movie was around 104 million. We know how studios work and how they operate. I'm pretty sure it's around 120, 125 million dollars for this movie. It might be 104, but I find it very surprising that it's only $104 million. I'm pretty sure it's a little bit higher. So given the fact that the movie has such a high budget, I don't think it has that much of a high budget when it comes to the marketing, especially with the fact that the marketing for this movie was a little bit all over the place. And I'll touch upon that a little bit on later in the video. But it essentially needs around, probably, let's say if it was 120 million and then 50 to 60 million dollars in marketing, so it's 180 million. So you double times that, it needs around almost 400 million dollars to break even. Safe to say maybe like around 360 million dollars to break even. Right now it has a lot of ground to cover if it's going to hit that mark, which I don't think it will. It's a shame because I reviewed the movie. I said that I think it was actually enjoyable, but it has to do with the marketing, and I'll hit on that later on. But the movie received a B+ cinema score. So usually this is an indicator for the people in the industry that actually look into the numbers and the potential gross of a movie. They look into this to see whether or not the movie is going to have legs. This movie is a B+ cinema score. Usually DC movies fall into the B+ category. There's only a few of them that are A's and A-, and then others that are just like B's. So it's pretty normal for movies from DC to be at a B+. But here's the thing. Strays, which didn't do that good, has a B+ cinema score as well. I would be ashamed to see Blue Beetle. Like, if I was part of a Blue Beetle, I'll be ashamed given the fact that the audience gave it a B+, which is the same score as Strays, and Strays looks terrible just from the trailers alone. Like, it just looks terrible. I don't understand. I think the whole talking dog comedy thing has been done before, so maybe it's not my cup of tea, but it's just interesting that a movie that's good, Blue Beetle, seems to be a far more superior movie than Strays, still got the same cinema score. And we saw how Strays opened. So I don't think that the longevity or the legs that Blue Beetle needs is there. I might be wrong, but I don't see any indication. Like, you see Barbie was at an A, and you saw the legs that Barbie had, up to the point that it's almost about to surpass Super Mario Brothers for the highest grossing movie for this year alone. So again, that's usually where you want to sit at in order for your movie to be comfortable. Even Elemental, which sits at an A, that's also another testament of having legs. Elemental, I thought it was going to flop hard. It didn't succeed or overperform, but it did overperform my expectations, and it didn't flop as hard as a lot of people were thinking that it would, even myself. It did end up making a lot of money moving down the line. I don't think enough to break even, but almost close enough to be able to break even because the budget for that movie was so high. But again, it was an A cinema score and it had legs, and it ended up making more money than what people anticipated. See, and even The Flash with B still made somewhat money. I just feel that maybe people are DC'd out and superheroed out, and again, the marketing, which I keep saying it, but it's because I have a lot to say about the marketing for Blue Beetle as a whole. But it's interesting because The Flash debuted higher and still made more money than what Blue Beetle currently has. It's like 2 or 3 times what Blue Beetle currently has in order to reach The Flash's numbers. So again, it's not looking good for Blue Beetle. You consider the Rotten Tomato scores, which I don't tend to consider, but a lot of people just like to look at it, and I use them as an indicator. But right now it says at 69 for the top critic reviews and 87 for the all audience scores, which is not bad at all. A lot of movies that are good or people enjoy tend to have that rating, but I don't know to what extent that's going to help out the movie in the long run. I don't think it's going to help it out whatsoever. I think it's safe to say that it'll probably flop hard for the in the box office as a whole. Now, going back to the whole marketing issue, and this is the reason as to why I want to mention this, because I put it out in my spoiler review, but then I ended up editing it out because I felt like it just didn't add anything and it just added more time to the already a long video. So I just edited it out and decided to just touch upon it here because we were talking about the numbers. The marketing of the movie, I don't think it helped the movie whatsoever. And the reason why I say this is because there's a misconception, and I keep seeing this on article upon article and even posts that I see around social media, that the movie was catered to the Latino and Hispanic community, and it's a fail because, it didn't hit the mark, or it didn't resonate with audiences, or et cetera, et cetera. Now, here's the thing the issue that I have. A lot of people have this misconception that every Latino and Hispanic person in the community are the same. And I think that people don't realize that inside the Latino and Hispanic community, there's different subcultures that we all have and are a part of, right? So the movie was catered to Latinos and Hispanics and the community itself because it was the first Latino superhero, right? That's essentially what the movie marketed itself to be. But that limited the audience because when you see the movie, right, if you're Hispanic, if you're Latino, when you see the movie and you see the trailer, you see like the way the family interacts and who is playing who and what character is what, you understand what category that person falls into when it comes to the subcultural group, right, of the Latino and Hispanic community. I'm Puerto Rican. By default, I'm an American citizen because that's just how the island operates. But I'm Puerto Rican, and this movie itself, when it comes to the cultural aspect of it, doesn't have to do anything with me, like whatsoever. The movie is not about Puerto Rican culture. The movie is not about what Puerto Ricans experience in their day-to-day life in the island, right? And even me, that I'm not extremely in tune with Puerto Rican culture because I have a hybrid, I have a hybrid when it comes to my raising and the way that I was raised up as a kid. I don't think that people from the island will look at the movie and be like, oh yeah, this is a cultural staple for us, because it isn't. The movie talks about and it centers around a Mexican-American family. A Mexican-American family is completely different than Puerto Rican families, Venezuelans, Colombians, people from Ecuador, Salvador, Panama, we're all different, right? We might share some of the same values, but the reality is that cultural wise, we're not the same. So the movie limited its audience just by catering it to, oh, this is a movie for Latinos and Hispanics. And then the Latinos and Hispanics looked at the trailer and they were like, well, wait, it's not actually for me because I'm not Mexican American. Again, I really enjoyed the movie. Do I think it's a great movie? No. I said that there's certain things that the movie needed help with in order to make a better movie than what we got. But it was an enjoyable movie, and I would say go give it a try. But the reality is that when it comes to the whole aspect of the marketing, they missed the mark because you're limiting your audience, especially when the movie has so much to offer when it comes to the relatableness of it. I don't even know if that's a word, but the relatableness of the movie itself, there's so much to offer it. You don't have to be Latino or Hispanic to actually relate to the issues that this character is facing, or the family dynamic that the movie embodies, or the relationship between the father and a son. You don't have to be a Latino or Hispanic to actually be able to relate to those things. But the marketing, and this is Hollywood's trend, which is I want people to understand, or I want people to know that my movie is extremely represented, or is talking about minorities, and this is how I want to market it. No, you don't market it that way. Learn from Barbie, and it's more interesting given the fact that this is the same studio that put this one out, is the same studio that put Barbie out. It's learn from the marketing from Barbie. The movie was, yes, definitely very much heightened when it comes to feminism. the movie has a lot to offer for everybody, not just feminists. But the marketing of the movie was so brilliant because you didn't have those undertones in the marketing whatsoever. It didn't cater to just women. It didn't say, oh yeah, just only women can watch this, and then that's it. No, it broadened its appeal based on the marketing itself. And I think that this movie could have used a lot of that help if the marketing of the movie was way better. The way it marketed, they failed 100%, and I don't think that they gave the movie a chance to actually succeed. And now everybody in the industry, when it comes to the articles, is blaming the Hispanic and Latino community for not showing up in order to support this movie in a larger scale. It's insane. It's insane, and I wonder when is Hollywood going to learn? Because I feel like they're not learning. They're not learning their lessons. But hey, it is what it is. And, you know, that's my little rant for like 4 or 5 minutes about the movie. But I'm pretty sure that the movie would have done way better if they would have fixed the marketing issue. Whether or not the movie's going to have legs, it's all, you know, a wait and see type of situation. I don't see it making a lot of money. Maybe it'll have a little bit of legs because of word of mouth, but I will be very surprised. We'll see next weekend if it actually helps out a lot with the word of mouth and if it actually has a bump up. But to be honest, I don't see it, and it's a shame. So it is what it is. Now, let's talk about Barbie a little bit more, and then after this, I'll just end the video. But Barbie is already on track to beat Super Mario for the #1 movie of the year. And I mentioned in my prior box office video that I think that it had the chance to do it unless it like fell through completely and just stopped. I said it'll probably end up beating Super Mario Brothers, and I think it will. It says at $1.28 billion worldwide. It just needs a couple, probably $60 million more. And it still has more than enough time to make that up because it doesn't come out on digital until I think the second week of September. I think it's September 7th. So it still has a good 2 weeks in order to make it up. And I'm pretty sure it's going to make it up. It now sits at I think it's number 3 or number 2 for the all-time movies directed or co-directed by a movie or having a co-directed by a woman or having a woman involved in the direction or the producing of the movie. It sits on number 2. I don't know if it's going to surpass Frozen 2. Frozen 2 is like at 1.4, almost $1.5 billion. But hey, nevertheless, Barbie is definitely that hit that Warner Brothers needed. Unfortunately, I don't think the amount of money that they're profiting off of this does them any good. I don't think that they're so much in debt that even with this win, I don't think it's gonna suffice the amount of money that they're in debt. But hey, so glad for Barbie. I'm happy that the movie is doing great, and I can't wait to buy it on the physical copy. I want a physical copy because I want to see the casing of it. I don't want a digital one. I want the casing of it. So I can't wait to have it physically with me because I think it's just going to be so much fun to be able to watch it from time to time. And lastly, just to talk about Oppenheimer because it's doing great. It currently sits at $719 million worldwide. Again, for a 3-hour long talk R-rated movie, this is amazing. It's extremely, extremely good. It's great for Christopher Nolan as a whole. It made so much money. There's a lot of talk around it. Maybe it'll have a lot of Oscar nominations, which is what he wants. Again, great for the film. Whether or not it's going to hit $800 million, I don't know. A lot of people are being optimistic about it. But I think it'll probably end up somewhere around 740 to 750 million, probably a little bit more. If it reaches 800 million, that's going to be an extreme success for it, but I don't think so. It needs about $100 million more, $80 million more, and it's no, there's again, never say never. I think the movie really benefited from being in the same space in conversation from Barbie. So almost $720 million. I don't think it's going to reach the $800 million, but even then, the movie is still profitable, just as Barbie. So it's a win-win situation. Glad for everybody involved. Still haven't watched it. I'll see. It's 3 hours. It's 3 hours of my life that I have to give away. So I'll probably watch it at home. I don't know. But I couldn't be more happy for the movie. So yeah, so that rounds up the box office breakdown. Let me know what you guys think. Again, remember to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.